What's going on, folks? This is Coach Marcus for Pro Fan Talk. We're dealing with the Charissa Thompson controversy. Has she been lying about everything on the sideline? Absolutely not. First thing you want to do is listen to the clip and listen to what she actually said.
I would make up the report sometimes because A, the coach wouldn't come out at halftime, or it was too late. And I was like, I didn't want to screw up the report. So I was like, I'm just going to make this up.
Is it going to change the landscape of sideline reporting because she did what she did? Now you get all of these people, as usual these days. Everybody wants to come out grandstanding. Rich Eisen, because his wife was a sideline reporter, at least Rich Eisen was honest enough to come out and say, I'm biased because I'm married to somebody that was the sideline reporter. And of course, then they want to talk about how hard of a job it is and everything that they have to do. Okay, she did what she did. To me, that shouldn't be an indictment on the whole sideline reporting industry. Whatever she felt she had to do to get through the moment. And this is important for me, and just as a disclaimer, all of this is my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. You got to look at the context of the situation. Now, I heard what she said. Trying to get to a coach going in at halftime. If you don't get there in time, if they don't want to talk to you, any number of different things can go wrong in a situation like that. But in the context of what she said, if the coach doesn't want to give you anything, you still got to do something because the camera's about to go live on you. So you got to do something. Now, here's where I don't have a problem. She basically regurgitated coach speak. That's all she did. And I could show you plenty of situations where somebody's trying to do their job and then the coach wants to act like an ass and doesn't want to talk.
Think about that last penalty.
Well, I didn't like the last penalty.
In my opinion, one of the worst things the NFL did, one of the worst things, was make the coaches talk either going in or coming out of halftime. Going in is worse because if your team's not doing so well, you got a bad call, you had a bad first half, your star player gets hurt, whatever, you don't feel like talking. You do not feel like getting into that whatsoever. And for somebody to come up and stick a microphone in front of your face, you got to deal with it. So I've seen some of the ones where they don't have a lot to say.
And so what will you tell your guys defensively?
We'll be fine. Our guys will be fine. It's going to be a hard-fought game out here.
Sometimes it's like that. And you got these sideline reporters basically going up, and the coach don't want to give anything away. They don't want to say anything. They're pissed. They want to get in the locker room and deal with their team. They don't want to deal with BS questions. Because let's be honest with you, some of them are BS questions. Most of them are BS questions. You saw the first half. What do you guys got to do coming out the second half? You saw the first half. You know what I got to do. We got to complete more first downs. We got to do this, and they go into that coach speak because they got a lot on their minds. They don't want to talk to you. They want to get into, talk to their team and figure out what's going on and what adjustments they have to make. And you already know that asking those questions. They already said it in the broadcast booth. They know as much. They're not really contributing anything in that specific instance. You have some coaches that'll engage and tell you some things. But again, coaches ain't really telling you nothing you didn't see with your own eyes, especially if you were watching the game. So you putting these women in a bad situation, and some guys too, in a bad situation. And it's like, coaches, if you could turn on the filter of what the coaches really want to say, the coaches would say, I'm only here because I don't want to get fined.
Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
They don't want to talk to you right now. They're saying whatever they can say as quick as possible to get you out of their face. And then you have the people that want to follow up with another question. It's like, ask your one question, get in and get out.
We'll just see how the game goes, okay? Thanks.
Thanks, John.
And then you got some of these people that push the envelope, and it's like, if you're going to do that, you get what you get. But having said all of that, I don't have no problem with what she said or what she did, because I could probably find plenty of situations where men did a hell of a lot worse.
What does it mean to you now when the team is
Much
struggling?
worse.
I want to kiss you. I couldn't care.
Not to mention all of the crap that a lot of these ladies got to take from these coaches. And this goes all the way back to, I believe it was Bear Bryant not willing to, not wanting to talk to that female reporter way back in the day. It started back then. It just no respect. You still got that attitude where women don't belong on the sideline and all that kind of stuff. Trust me, I played the first year where women were allowed in the locker room. And I saw how some of the guys used to treat those reporters in the locker room. They made it uncomfortable. They made it awkward. And if some of that stuff would have happened today, a lot of these guys would be out the league. Let's keep it real. You force them in a no-win situation. If you do get a coach that's nice enough to engage you and give you about 15 or 20-second answer, He's only going to tell you something that you already know.
Coach, what's the biggest challenge that they're presenting towards your defense?
Forget the defense. We got to move the darn football. I mean, we're not doing anything to move the football to get the defense off the field.
In my opinion, the best thing that the sideline reporters are good for is when you see an altercation on the sideline, when you see somebody go into the blue tent, like last night, and you see Joe Burrow go, I saw Joe Burrow, he couldn't grip the ball. And even some of that you can get from a camera on the sideline. They get all of this information. Cameras are everywhere. They don't miss a thing. But if you're on the sideline and you hear a conversation, prime example, in Philadelphia, the whole blow up with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. A sideline reporter can see that firsthand, so they can get the inflection and hear the tone of the conversation, and they can tell you whether it's no big deal or whether it was something serious, because that is a situation where it helps to see it firsthand and you can understand the context of that conversation. That's really where you get the value of a sideline reporter. I don't need a sideline reporter telling me what the coach is thinking going into the halftime. He's down by 14 points. His star running back fumbled the ball. His quarterback threw another interception. You already know what he's thinking. I don't need him to tell me that, but they force him to go and do it. So they get what they get. Again, I don't have no problem she making stuff up. What she made up, at least this is what she said. We got to do a better job on third down. We got to be able to get the defense off the field. All of that generic coach speak. Now, if she goes in and say, well, such and such is not going to be coming back in the game, if she's giving out secretive information or something that's not supposed to be released, or she just out and out lied and said something and it just didn't happen, to me, that's a whole different conversation. But if you racing over there and you don't make it, and the only thing you want to ask them is, what do you guys have to do to bring it back in the second half? You already know what the coaches are going to say. They're going to give you that same generic coach speak. It's kind of like you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. And mind you, she ain't a sideline reporter. She was telling the story of what she did back when she was doing it. What's the problem? If you don't like it, don't do it when you got your opportunity to do it. But you got all of these people grandstanding. You got Michelle Tafoya was okay. She was like, honestly, this makes me sad. Carissa's a nice person, but this is professional fraud. If a coach won't talk to you at halftime, say that. And there is no report, then you just don't file a report at halftime. Okay. You don't get a report in at halftime because you didn't make it in there. Looks like you couldn't do your job, and then it dog piles on you anyway. You know my saying, if they're going to get me, I'm going to make it worth my while. She didn't say she made up a report about an injured athlete or something that was going on. No, all she said was the generic coach speak that they always talk about. I ain't got a problem with that. And now you go to like Tracy Wolfson. This is not okay, not the norm, and upsetting on so many levels. I take my job very seriously. Nobody said you didn't. I hold myself accountable for all I say. I build trust with coaches and never make something up. I know my fellow reporters do the same. No, you don't. You don't know what other reporters do. You know what they do when you see them. You never know what's going on in somebody else's house. You never know what somebody's willing to do or what they did to get where they got. You just don't. So you can't say that. The only thing you can say is for what you have seen. There's a reason why somebody will say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That had to come from somewhere. Not to mention, you look at all of the people, especially in the television industry, who are doing their thing, but don't belong there. There's plenty of that. Are you good at what you do? Are you just eye candy? Do you know somebody? Do we even need to go down that rabbit hole? Because now you got so many people, oh, she only got that because of the way she looks, the way she's built. How many stories have we heard from ESPN with all of the stuff, you know, the sexual harassment and all that kind of stuff? Matter of fact, Charissa Thompson, Aaron Andrews. One of the reasons why their podcast blew up so much was when they did that podcast on what they did when they were dating players or trying to date players or whatever that situation was. People want to lean into that. People get too bent out of shape. Tracy Wolfson, you can't speak for everybody, because 2 weeks ago, you never would have said Charissa Thompson would have done something like that. What was the situation? If I find a clip, I'm going to get it and I'm going to show it. What's the clip where I believe it was a female reporter at a baseball game and she butted in and took somebody's opportunity to interview a player, and they started calling each other names and stuff like that. And somebody said that they didn't do it or whatever, but they had everything on camera. And I'm saying that to say, never say what somebody else won't do, because you don't know. You just don't know. Andrea Kramer, a lot of grandstanding on this one as one of only 3 women in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Okay, you big timing her. That has nothing to do with what's going on, but you're sickened by the insulting mockery being made of sideline reporting. It's not a mockery. That's a real thing. You go over there, coaches don't want to talk to you, and you didn't get the clip or you didn't get the sound bite in time. So what do? Camera's going live in 10, 9, 8. What are you going to do? She said, I'm going to make it up because they weren't going to tell me anything anyways. So what I made up was the same old coach speak. Sounds like Andrea Kramer, a little bit of grandstanding. You did what you did. And anybody, you get to a certain level of success in your field. If you can't tell a story about what you had to do to get where you had to get, what are you teaching anybody? What you can say is, this is what I had to do so I could make it. Thankfully, y'all don't have to do that no more. I blame the NFL on that. To me, this is squarely on the NFL because you shouldn't be forcing coaches to stop and do an interview at that particular time in the game. In the World Series, you shouldn't be doing interviews with the manager of the baseball team in the middle of the 4th inning or whatever it is. That's not the time. I don't want to talk to a coach coming off a basketball court and his team is down by 10, or the other team just went on a 14-2 run and you ain't got no answers. I don't want to talk to nobody as a coach. And you forcing that down somebody's throat. There is going to be animosity. There is going to be vitriol. It's a bad domino effect of stuff that can go down. Charissa Thompson is heading the Amazon crew for Thursday Night Football. That's it. She's not doing sideline reporting. And she was talking about something that she did. I guess she had mentioned this on her podcast 2-something years ago. So there's no telling when it happened, when she actually did it. That statute of limitations is past gone. Everybody's choosing to get outraged about it. Again, it's a selective outrage. Because I could go back and look at a ton of stuff that men have done that was just horrible. Won't nobody say nothing about it. But this girl gonna tell you something about something she did years ago, and now all of a sudden it's the worst thing ever. People need to calm down, chill out, and understand the context of the clip. What she was talking about was a specific situation. That's at least how I took it. I'm a reasonable, intelligent guy, and I listened to it more than once. She was talking about specific situations that she was in where the coach wouldn't give her anything, so she had to make something up. What she didn't say was she made up everything. And you look at some of these comments, that's where everybody immediately goes. Like, she just made up everything. Nothing she said is true. And I'm like, y'all just skip the context. People need to just chill out. All these people grandstanding and everybody's going to have outrage. And guess what? When you're at that level of success, she ain't on a week-to-week contract. She has a contract. So if Amazon wants to get rid of her, and I don't think they will, if Amazon wants to get rid of her, they going to pay her contract. So she ain't losing nothing. And just like I talked about Marcellus Wiley, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp and Ocho, Skip Bayless, all of these people with podcasts. When she put out the next version, the next episode of her podcast, her and Aaron Andrews, that thing's probably going to be #1 because everybody's going to want to hear what she got to say. And you know she going to address it. She already put it on Twitter. I wish she hadn't have walked it back. I don't think she had to. But I understand the pressure, so she had to put out something. And the problem is, regardless of what she put out, everybody ain't going to like it. And then what she did put out wasn't that great anyway. So it's like, what was the point? Now she's in hot water because now the apology made it look worse. She shouldn't have said nothing. She should have addressed it on her podcast. And she would have had even more listeners on. That's the game these days. That is the game. And she winning. Let's say Amazon does decide like, hey, you know what? We're going to let you go until this stuff cools down or whatever. She still signed a contract. She's still getting paid. And everybody is going to be listening to her podcast to see what she's going to say next. So she's still winning. Everybody want to see the train wreck. Don't nobody want to help though. So all of these old reporters, I'm glad Tafoya kind of kept it classy. Andrea Kramer came out big timing. Tracy Wolfson came out big timing a little bit. Nobody asked you what you did. That's the thing. You see something you don't like, and then the first thing you say is, oh, I would never do that. I would never do that. Okay, nobody said you did. You just comment on what she said she did and wasn't ashamed to tell you. So props to her for putting it out there, especially if it happened years ago. Why you bringing it up now? Why you giving her the heat? And I still see Brett Favre popping up everywhere after the crap that he did back in the day. Not back in the day, a couple years ago. when he stole out all that money and all that kind of stuff, tried to sue people that were talking about him. But this is what outrages you? You didn't like her comments about sideline reporting, about stuff that you probably don't even want to see. Most people, when it's halftime, they headed for the kitchen or going to get another round of wings or beer. They're not waiting to see what the coach is going to say before you go on the sideline. Be for real. Y'all better stop playing.